Hi everyone, welcome to the second webinar out of a series of webinars conducted by TCS Online in lieu of the upcoming management case study examinations happening in August 2022. My name is Nick and I'm one of the tutors at TCS. In this webinar, as the name suggests, I'll be taking you through the different types of techniques you need to get right when providing answers. This is of utmost importance because, as you know, the management case study examination is an extremely time pressured exam. So you need to know how to manage your time. And on top of that, you need to have a good understanding about how you are supposed to provide quality answers, or how to improve the quality of the content of your answers. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna discuss tonight. And if by any chance you are attending this webinar, and if you had missed out on the first webinar, I suggest that you check out the recorded version of the webinar, which is on our website, which is www.study@tcs.com. So please go to the MCS page, and under the MCS page, you can access the free content. And under free content, under the category of videos, you would have the recorded version of webinar number 1, where we had discussed the technical nitty-gritties pertaining to the MCS exam. And the third webinar, which is happening next week, will highlight what you need to do when it comes to preparing for your examination, especially when it comes to developing confidence. And I'll be also highlighting what you need to do to maintain your confidence at your real exam. So having said that, let's look at today's session outcomes. So first things first, I'll be discussing about answering technique. And the second part of today's webinar is dedicated towards a discussion about time management. And last but not least, I'll be discussing mini mock and the suggested answers, and all these answering technique and time management techniques. I'll be highlighting how to apply them practically by or whilst taking you through the mini mock and the suggested answer. Right. So answering techniques, when you are developing answers for CIMA, you are supposed to adhere to the guidelines provided by the examiner. So if you adhere to these guidelines, then you are making the marker's life easier, or the invigilator's life easier. So it's better to satisfy the marker or the invigilator as much as possible, because if you're in a position to satisfy the invigilator, then you would end up getting a lot of marks at the real exam. So let's try to figure out what the examiner tells us to do. You are supposed to replicate the same methodology when developing your answers. And if you do that, you can comfortably pass the MCS exam. So when providing answers, first things first, you need to use appropriate headings and subheadings. So I will be talking about how to develop these headings and subheadings later on. Sorry, if I give a synopsis of what you are supposed to do. For each, under each main task in your exam, you would see 2 or 3 subtasks. So for each subtask, you need to come up with a main heading, and under the main heading, if you feel that you need to further subdivide your answer, then you are invited to come up with subheadings. Okay, so the examiner encourages you to use headings as per the subheadings. For each subtask, you are supposed to come up with a heading. And if you want to further subdivide your answer, then you are encouraged to use subheadings. And the headings should be in bold and underlined format, and subheadings should be in bold format. Let me reiterate that once more. Headings should be in bold and underlined format, and subheadings should be in just bold format. Okay, so you need to adhere to this. You'd understand what I'm talking about later on when I'm taking you through the suggested answer as well as the mini mock. Then you need to provide answers in paragraphs. You are not supposed to use bullet points or provide single lined sentences as answers. You are supposed to write answers in paragraphs, and each paragraph should consist of at least two or a maximum of four sentences, nothing more, nothing less. Okay, and um, when coming up with paragraphs per each answer point, you need to come up with a paragraph. Okay, so let's assume in one of the questions you have 9 answer points, then you need to have 9 paragraphs. You are not supposed to provide answers in bullet points or single lined sentences. Okay, so if there are 9 answer points, you need to have 9 paragraphs, and each paragraph needs to have 2 to 4 sentences. And ideally, per 45-minute task, you need to have a word count of 650 to 700 words. Okay, so if you stick to this answering technique where you provide answers in paragraphs, without you knowing it, you would reach this word limit. So your invigilator is not going to count the amount of words, or the invigilator is not actually going to look at the quantity, the quantity of or the word count. But in order to provide fully fledged answers, it's better if you can develop answers which consists of 650 to 700 words per 45-minute task. Okay, so you can only develop this by practicing mock exams. I'll talk about this later as well. And when it comes to developing your answers, 1/3 of your time should be allocated for reading and planning, and 2/3 of your time should be allocated towards typing. So I've seen so many students. I myself, when I was a student, did this mistake. Um, most students, what they do is they would read the question, and straight away they would start typing the answer. And halfway through the answer, they would figure out that they are headed in a wrong direction, and they would figure out that they are not fulfilling the requirements which are highlighted in the task. So then you would have to delete the answer, and you would have to start to type the answer once more. And by the time, you have lost valuable time, and you would panic when you face something like that, a scenario such as this. Then once you panic, it affects your confidence in a negative manner, and you end up failing the examination. So rather than panicking during the exam, or rather than having to delete your answers and having to retype answers, it's better to spend 1/3 of your time to plan the answer. So read and plan the answer. For that, you are supposed to spend 1/3 of your time. That's 15 minutes. I don't mind even if you take 20 minutes to read and plan the answer, because it's of utmost importance that you come up with an answer structure or an answer plan, because without an answer plan, you cannot come up with a high quality answer. So you need to spend some time to think. So 15 minutes or 20 minutes should be spent to think and come up with an appropriate answer plan. And after coming up with an answer plan, once you have the answer plan in place, you can use the remaining time, which is 30 minutes or 25 minutes, to type the answer. That's ample time. That's enough time for you to type the answer, because once you know what the answer structure is going to be, then you know what to type. So when you are typing, you are not supposed to think anything. You are just supposed to stick to the answer plan and replicate the answer plan in your fully fledged answer. However, the first 15 to 20 minutes is extremely important. You should not straight away start typing the answer. Instead, you should read the question, read the task, then based on the requirements of the question, you need to come up with an answer plan. That's where all the planning happens. Then after coming up with the plan, After you are done with the plan, you can again go back to the question and see whether you had fulfilled the requirements, whether you had covered all the areas which are highlighted in the question. Once you are happy with your answer plan, then you can start typing your answers. Okay, and the expected typing speed is a minimum of 20 words per minute. So when you are attempting mock exams, you can check whether you can adhere to this time plan. If not, if you feel that your typing speed is not up to standard, there are so many ways in which you can improve your typing speed, because you can simply Google, there are so many typing games or typing software out there which are focused on improving your typing speed. So when you are attempting mock exams, you need to practice these things. Use headings and subheadings. You when you are providing answers, provide answers in paragraphs at all times, and 1/3 of your time should be allocated towards reading and planning the answer, and 2/3 should be allocated towards typing. And when it comes to typing, the minimum typing speed is 20 words per minute. And on top of all these things, you need to be conversant with the weightages provided under each and every subtask. Weightage for each requirement as per time allocated. Yes. So under each and every question or under each and every subtask, you'd see a weightage, a 50% weightage, a 20% weightage, 33% likewise. So this weightage gives you an indication about how many marks are allocated. And on top of that, this weightage gives you an indication about how much time you are supposed to spend on the question. So rather than just looking at the time aspect of it, when you see the weightage, try to determine how many marks are allocated for each and every subtask. So because when you understand the mark allocation, then you can determine how many points you are supposed to write in your answer. Okay, so you'd understand these things later on, because when I'm discussing the mini mock and the suggested answer, I'll show you how to do this. And you are not supposed to spend time on formatting, because paragraph alignment and whatnot, you can't do it on the exam platform. And on top of that, you won't get any marks for that. And when providing answers, remember, it's always about the quality of the points, not the quantity. So just because you write 700 worded write a 700 worded answer, it does not mean that you would end up passing the exam. Because if the content is not up to standard, if you have not addressed the needs highlighted in the task, even if you write a 700 word answer, you can't pass the exam. So the examiner or the invigilator always looks at quality over quantity. So please be mindful about these things. Okay, right. So let's move on to the next area, where I'm going to highlight what you need to do when it comes to developing answers. So first things first, you are supposed to read the scenario. So I said 1/3 of the time should be allocated towards reading and planning. So the first step towards developing your answers is reading the scenario. So when you are reading the scenario, try to grasp what is highlighted instantaneously. So your reading speed needs to be up to standard as well. So how can you improve your reading speed? You need to keep reading. So if you feel that you are a slow reader, what you can do is, up until the exam, on a daily basis, you can allocate something like 30 minutes or 1 hour and read anything you like. Okay, then your reading speed improves. So read the scenario first, plot the requirements into headings and subheadings. Yes, so as I told you earlier, for each and every subtask, you need to come up with a heading. And if you still feel under the headings, if you still feel you need to further subdivide your answers, then you can come up with subheadings. And so first things first, you read the scenario, then you come up with headings and subheadings. Once you have the headings and subheadings, you need to invest time to understand the requirement clearly. So you have your heading as well as your subheadings. Then you know what you are supposed to write, what type of points you are supposed to make. So spend some time to think, because without you simply cannot provide answers without thinking. There's absolutely no point of panicking. Without panicking, take a step back, think for some time, then come up with a better, then you are in a position to come up with a better answer. And after doing all these things, you are supposed to plan the answer. Maximum of 1/3 of your time can be taken. So 15 minutes, take 15 minutes to come up with an appropriate answer plan for each and every task. And after you have um, um, so so um, so take 15 minutes of your time. And when developing the answer plan, plan it on the answer screen itself. I know that you have access to the scratch pad. Just because you have access to the scratch pad, don't try to go and develop your answer plan on the scratch pad, because that's a waste of time. Rather than developing your answer plan on the scratch pad, do it on the answer screen itself, because when it comes to typing the answer, you can simply expand the answer plan which you had typed on the answer screen itself. So that's what I've highlighted here. After developing the answer plan on the answer screen itself, you are supposed to expand the points in the answer plan when developing your fully fledged answer. So these are the steps which you need to adhere to. Let me reiterate them. Read the scenario first, come up with your headings and subheadings, then think about what you're supposed to write under each heading and subheading, then come up with the answer plan. You have to allocate 15 minutes to develop the answer plan. The answer plan needs to be concise and summarized as much as possible. Don't write fully fledged answer plans. Rather, just highlight the main points which you are gonna mention in the answer. Okay. And when developing the answer plan, you are supposed to do it on the answer screen itself. And once you are done with the answer plan, then when it comes to typing the answer, just expand the points which appear in the answer plan. Okay. Right. Then we are moving on to another area when it comes to writing answers, which is about pre-scene application. What's the right approach? First things first, you need to know your key information. For example, piping generates 95% of its revenue locally. So from where did I get this information? From the pre-scene. So you need to know your pre-scene properly. That does not mean that you need to understand each and every technical detail which appears on the pre-scene. Instead, you just need to remember the most important points. So you might be wondering how you can remember, or how a student can pick which of the information is important and which of the information is not important. We've made your life easier, because we at TCS, we develop something called the annotated pre-scene. So just go through the annotated pre-scene. By going through the annotated pre-scene which we provide, you'd be in a position to understand the most important points which you need to remember. So just remembering the annotations will help you extremely at the real exam, rather than having to remember all the points which appear in the pre-scene document. Just remember our annotations. That's all you need to know. And that's all you need to know to pass the MCS exam comfortably. Okay. So you need to know your key information, and you need to know your numbers as well. Please remember that you are not supposed to do any numbers or do any calculations, do any major calculations at the MCS exam. Instead, the examiner gives you the facts and figures, the numbers and whatnot. However, you need to remember the key ratios, because it makes your life easier, rather than at the real exam, rather than having to do the calculations. For instance, rather than having to calculate the gearing ratio, it's better if you can go through it beforehand, and if you can remember it. And we've made your life easier again, because we've provided a separate set of slides as financial analysis slides, where we had summarized all these financial statements and highlighted the most important points which you need to remember. And on top of that, out of the 4 pre-scene analysis videos, one is dedicated towards financial analysis, where we are doing an in-depth analysis based on the financial statements of piping and its as well as its closest competitor. Okay, so you need to go through these slides as well as the videos, then you know your ratios, and then you are supposed to prepare for possible scenarios, but be open-minded. Yes, just because you go through all the mock exams, it does not mean that you are supposed to replicate the exact answers at the real exam, because the CIMA examiner is trying to replicate a real life work environment. In a real life work environment, you can't predict the type of problems the company might face, the type of issues or internal dynamics you can't predict in a real life corporate environment. So you cannot predict the type of questions which will be thrown at you at the real exam. So it's better to prepare yourself. However, you need to be open-minded. So you are playing the you are playing the role of a senior finance manager. As a senior finance manager, let's assume that you walk into office on Monday, and once you walk into office on Monday, you open your laptop, you check your mails, then you know what type of problems the company had faced and what type of solutions you are supposed to provide. Okay, other than that, you cannot predict the type of problems the company had faced. Okay, so the same things needs to be replicated in your exam as well. You can prepare yourself, you can do all the mock exams, go through all additional content, all that is there, but you have to always be open-minded, because you never know what type of a question will be thrown at you at the real exam. Remember that the scenario presented in the exam carries the latest information. Yes, so through the pre-scene document, the examiner gives you information about the company operations, the financial statements, industry dynamics and whatnot. And all this information talks about the past. Okay. However, at the real exam, present information is provided. So just because you go through our annotated pre-scene or our additional content such as the financial analysis slides, top 10 issues and industry analysis, just because you go through all these slides and additional content, it does not mean that you can pass the exam, because what the questions or the scenarios presented in the exam carries the latest information. Okay, so you need to be open-minded at all times in order to pass the MCS exam. That's what we wanted to highlight. Okay, right. Referring to the pre-scene info in answers, how are you supposed to refer to information which is brought in from the pre-scene in your answers? Refer or cite in such a way that it adds value to the point you are presenting in the answer. Yes, just because you know certain points which are highlighted in the pre-scene, you are not supposed to uh, mention irrelevant information. Even if you are getting that information from the pre-scene, if it's irrelevant to the task, there's absolutely no point of mentioning about it, because the examiner will not give you any marks unless otherwise the pre-scene info which we have mentioned adds value to your answer. So whenever bringing in information from the pre-scene, what you need to focus on is you need to figure out whether it adds value to your answer or not. So you are supposed to refer or cite in such a way that it adds value to the point you are presenting in the answer. Do not force it in to show the marker that you have studied the pre-scene, because just because you study the pre-scene, you are not going to pass the exam. Okay, so in order to understand how to refer to pre-scene information in the answers, refer to suggested answers of mock exams, then you would figure out what type of content or what type of information need to be provided, when bringing in the best practice is when bringing in information from the pre-scene, you need to think whether it adds value, whether it is in line with the requirement of the task, and whether it adds value to your answer. If that is the case, please go ahead, bring in information from the pre-scene. If you feel that a certain point which you're going to make is not adding value to the answer, please do not include that in the answer. Okay, it's better to better not to bring in information unnecessarily and end up losing marks. Okay, so that's what you need to remember. All right, so having said all these things, let's move on to the mini walk, where I'm gonna take you through task number 2, because task number 1 was discussed previously for the previous session, so I'll be talking about it later on. So I'm going to take you through section number 2, a 45-minute section. So let's try to figure out what type of a question this is, and based on this question, let's try to figure out what type of an answer plan you are supposed to develop. And once you have the answer plan, then it's a matter of just expanding the answer plan and typing the answer. Okay, right. So this question is about a herbal tea launch. The company has been able to identify 2 leading restaurants and retail chains that have expressed interest in selling these new products. So piping is in the process, as per this question, the company is in the process of expanding their product range, thereby introducing herbal tea range. And the company has identified 2 leading restaurants and a retail chain that have expressed interest in selling these new products. And you are getting an email. Channa Disilva, your senior finance manager, had gotten an email from the finance director, and it carries the subject pricing and negotiations. It's the question is something to do with pricing and negotiation, right? So Channa is saying that he's really keen to launch somebody's mic is on, right? I muted it. Really keen to launch this, as it has been quite a while since we launched a new variant in our portfolio. Please refer to the attachment sent to us by the retail chain who have some concerns with our pricing strategy. Okay, so the company is in the process of introducing 2 tea ranges. Okay, herbal teas to be precise. Okay, and we had received an email from one of our clients, and the client is concerned about our pricing strategy. So let's look at the reference material to figure out what type of an email we have received from our client. So we had received this email from the cluster head of Mysore Mart LLC. Okay. The market for herbal tea is still nascent, and however, it has high potential to grow given the priority given to health and wellness in the SCW cluster. SCW stands for Southlandia, Eastlandia, and Westlandia, 3 countries in which this company is operating. The market for traditional black tea, however, as you may know, is a thriving one. So black tea is doing all right, but the market for herbal tea is not too big at the moment, but it has potential to grow. So that's what this company is telling us. As of now, we have Hot Lows, Blueberry Bliss, and Peppermint Paradise in the SCW sector. Yes, in these 3 markets, our competitor Hot Lows, Blueberry Bliss, and Peppermint Paradise had been introduced into the market, who only entered the market a few months ago. Other small players are virtually non-existent. So what you can understand from this information is we are moving into new markets, and when we are moving into new markets, we have gotten in touch with a major client, and this client is telling us, okay, Hotlo is already in the market with the herbal teas. However, there aren't any other players. So there's significant potential for us to grow in this market. And on top of that, what you need to understand is herbal teas, although the demand is low at the moment, there is potential for significant growth given the health benefits. Okay. Moreover, one of our trade managers, Mr. Morgan Trid, wanted to begin the initial stages of negotiating our trade margins with you and your team tomorrow. Yeah. So on top of all this information, they are saying that Mizamat's trade managers want to negotiate with us with regards to trade margins before carrying out the business. Okay, so this is the information provided. So let's look at what the requirements are. Firstly, discuss two alternative pricing strategies we could consider implementing at this stage at Mizamat. Okay, so we are supposed to talk about two alternative pricing strategies, and on top of that, you are supposed to highlight the implications of using these pricing strategies. Please also provide your recommendation on which pricing strategy you consider the most appropriate. Okay, so this requirement carries 3 tasks to be precise. Task number 1 is you are supposed to highlight 2 alternative pricing strategies. Okay, then task number 2 is you need to talk about the implications of adopting either of the pricing strategies. That's the second part. And the third part is about recommending the most suitable pricing strategy. Okay, so for addressing all these 3 areas, you would be getting 52% of the marks. So you can see the weightages. I was talking about the weightages. So this is what I was talking about. So for subtask A, you would be getting 52%. So out of the total mark, 52% is allocated for subtask A. So let's try to figure out what type of an answer plan you are supposed to develop. So as I told you earlier, you are not supposed to write after, reading the question. You are not supposed to start typing the answer. Instead, I asked you to spend 1/3 of your time or 15 minutes to develop an answer plan. So this is what an answer plan looks like. So as you can see, I've not come up with fully fledged answers. Instead, I've provided answers in bullet points. So I said that the answer plan needs to be concise as much as possible because you are in the process of planning the answer or structuring your answer. So keep it simple as much as possible, because after you keep it simple, then you can go on to expand these points when typing your fully fledged answer. So I've come up with a heading, 2 alternative pricing strategies with their implications and recommendation. So I said you are supposed to use headings and subheadings, and headings needs to be in bold and underline format. That's the exact format which I've used in here. Okay, and I've used subheadings as well. Subheadings are in bold format. Okay, 2 alternative pricing strategies. So explain 2 pricing strategies. That's the first requirement as per the task. Okay, so one of the pricing strategies which I'm suggesting is penetrative pricing. So I've simply defined what it is about. Charging a low price initially to capture market share, then gradually increasing it. So that's penetration pricing is that. So sorry, whenever you want to enter a new market, what you do is, in order to capture market or in order to capture demand, you price it extremely low. However, once the demand picks up, you end up increasing the price. Once the market knows about your product, then once your product is popular in the market, you can push up your price. So that's penetrative pricing or penetration pricing. And what are the implications? So according to the question, you are not just supposed to talk about 2 alternative pricing strategies, you are supposed to highlight the implications as well. Implications of adopting these pricing strategies. So the implications, the positive implication is, we can easily establish our market share, because when our price is low, people are gonna start using our product just to check our product. Then we are in a position to easily establish our product in the market. The negative implication is it's inconsistent with our brand identity, because we are known as, piping is known as a high quality tea manufacturer. So as a high quality tea manufacturer, if we charge a low price, it goes against our brand identity. So that's what I've highlighted here. So that's the first pricing strategy which I've highlighted. Then the second pricing strategy is discount pricing. So this is a scenario where our long-term strategy is to set a lower price than the market. So if the market is charging $100, £100, we would end up charging something like £80 or £90. Okay, and discount pricing, in penetrative pricing, what happens is we just discount the price, or we just charge a low price in the short term. However, in the discounting pricing strategy, for a long period of time, we keep on discounting our prices. Okay, and what are the implications? Again, I've highlighted the implications. Positive implication is we can easily capture the market share when we are selling something at a discount. The negative implication is with regards to customer perception, that low price means low in quality. So if customers feel that the price is too cheap, they might think that the quality is less as well. That's the negative implication. So after doing that, according to the question, you are supposed to recommend your the most suitable pricing strategy. So the recommendation, I've used a subheading again. Recommendation is penetrative pricing, and you cannot simply, when it comes to recommendations, you have to always justify your recommendation. Just because you mention something, it does not mean that you are going to get marks. Whenever, every time you are providing a recommendation, you have to provide a fully fledged justification. So how have I justified my answer? The market is still nascent. That means that the market is still in the growth phase. We are not too sure about the demand for herbal teas in the market. The nascent market will evolve over time as new users gradually enter the market. Yes, as demand for the product grows, the price can be increased gradually. So that's a proper justification which I provided. So as you can see, this is a simple question, and I've come up with a simple answer for it, for that. Once you come up with the answer plan, then you can start typing the answer. Okay, so that's the answer plan which I've developed for subtask A. Let's look at subtask B. Secondly, advice on how we can engage in effective negotiations with regards to the trade margin stated by the cluster head. So in the reference material, it was highlighted that these guys from or the trade managers from our client with whom we are going to work with, these guys want to negotiate with us about the trade margins. So the examiner asks you how we can engage in effective negotiations. So how we, or in other terms, how we can carry out negotiations in the most effective manner. How we can engage in effective negotiations. So I've come up with a simple heading, and please be mindful that this is a main heading. As I told you earlier, for each subtask, you need to come up with a main heading. So for subtask A, this was the main heading which I used: 2 alternative pricing strategies with their implications and recommendation. And for subtask B, which is about negotiations, I've used how we can engage in effective negotiations. So that's the main heading which I've used, and the main heading is bold and underlined. All right, so let's look at the points which needs to appear in the answer plan. Preparation prior to negotiation. So prior to negotiation, what are you supposed to do? Take adequate time to duly prepare, because it's better to prepare before trying to figure out what you're going to negotiate at the meeting. Prepare different scenarios in the negotiation. So when we are talking about trade margins, we have to prepare ourselves for multiple scenarios. Okay, choosing representatives of similar status and experience to that of MySmart to represent piping. Yes, it's better to have knowledgeable people, skilled negotiators. Okay, include a senior manager and representative from finance, because we are going to talk about trade margins. So when it comes to stipulating margins, it's better to have a senior manager on board, and on top of that a finance guy as part of the negotiation team. So all these things you need to do prior to commencing negotiations. So during the negotiation, what are you supposed to do? You are supposed to bargain for favorable terms, and after the bargaining is done, you are supposed to close the negotiation process with a beneficial deal or a win-win. However, you can't achieve a win-win scenario all the time. If a win-win scenario is not possible, ask for more time to work out an acceptable deal. So that's what you need to do when carrying out in order to improve the effectiveness of the negotiation process. These are the steps which you need to take. Right. So that's the answer plan for the second subtask. Again, a simple question. And based on that, I've come up with an extremely simple answer plan. And once you have the answer plans, what you're supposed to do is start typing the answers. So that's exactly what you can see in here. I've mentioned penetrative pricing. Under that, I've mentioned several different points, and under discount pricing, I've written my answers in paragraphs and the recommendation as well. You can see in all the rest of the answers, I've provided answers in paragraphs. No bullet points are there, right? So what happens is, once you come up with an answer plan such as this, it makes your life easier when it comes to typing the answer, because you have already allocated time to plan and think. And once you are typing the answer, you need not think anymore. So that makes your life easier. So that's the best way to provide answers at your CIMA exam. Okay, so try to replicate this. You can't get this right in if you're doing it for the first time. You can't get it right in the first try itself. You have to practice mock exams. That's exactly why we had developed 5 exam standard mock exams. So when you are practicing these mock exams, try to adhere to this answer planning technique as much as possible, because if you do, then you would be a champion at developing answers, champion at coming up with answers with extremely high quality content, and a champion at managing time. Most students run out of time, and because they run out of time, what happens is they end up failing the exam. So what you can do is, by managing time, by adhering to our time plan, you can come up with better answers. You can manage your time appropriately, and on top of that, you will be allocating some time to think before you type. So that's extremely beneficial for you to gain better marks at the exam. All right. So having said that, I invite you guys to watch this additional reference video as well. Refer to the following video uploaded to the website, as well as our YouTube channel, which goes as Study at TCS. Okay, where we had discussed in the previous session, in the session which concluded in May, we discussed the answer plan for section number 1. So in tonight's session, we looked at section number 2. So if you want to get a hold of the answer plan for section number 1, please watch this video, which is on our website under the free content category. Please go through that, and or else you can simply watch the YouTube video as well, from 39 minutes and 14 seconds up until 1 hour, 6 minutes and 10 seconds. Please go through it as well. Then it's going to be beneficial. Going through this video as well will be beneficial for you. All right, so let me talk about what we offer. We offer 2 packages under the MCS program. So the first package is known as the Essential Pack. The essential, if you purchase the essential pack, you would have access to full pre-scene analysis videos. So there are 4 videos in total. Video number 1 is the introduction. Video number 2 and 3 highlights company operations, and video number 4 is about it consists of financial analysis based on piping and its closest competitor. So by going through these pre-scene analysis videos, you are in a position to better understand the pre-scene and figure out which of the information you need to remember and which of the information you can leave out. And you would get your hands on the annotated pre-scene as well. So as I highlighted earlier, the annotated pre-scene consists of information which is the most important, and you need to remember these points which we had highlighted as annotations. And you have access to the industry analysis slides, financial analysis slides, and the top 10 likely issue slides, as well as the MCS familiarization kit, especially if you are coming through the FLP route or an exemption route or the gateway route. Then you need to familiarize yourselves with the technical nitty-gritties pertinent to MCS, so you can go through that. And the most important product under the essential pack is the 5 exam standard mock exams and the suggested answers. So these 5 mock exams cover all areas which can be tested, all syllabus content which can be tested in the exam. Okay, I've seen students doing just 2 or 3 exams before the 2 or 3 mock exams before the real exam. But I won't encourage you to do just 2 or 3 exams, because you can't cover the entire syllabus by doing 2 or 3 exams. So that's exactly why we had come up with 5 exam standard mocks. And if you purchase the essential pack, you would have access to the WhatsApp discussion forum, where you can discuss about theoretical content, as well as if you have any questions pertaining to the pre-scene or any mock exams, you can discuss them with your colleagues as well as the tutors of TCS. And the essential pack comes with a pass guarantee. So this, if by any chance, if you end up failing the exam, then you'd have access to the study material in the subsequent session free of charge. Okay, and the investment is £99. And let me talk about the second package which we are offering, which is the value pack. So under the value pack, you would have access to everything which I discussed under the essential pack. On top of that, you would have access to the online mock exam platform. So this is something which we have developed, which is akin to the Pearson VUE system, on which you would have to do the real exam. So it's better to get accustomed to this exam platform. So you can attempt all your 5 mock exams on this exam platform under real exam conditions. That's going to be extremely beneficial for you at the real exam. And we are also providing professional marking and feedback on 3 mocks, namely mocks 2, 3, and 4. So it's I think if you feel that you need additional help, this professional feedback is going to be extremely beneficial for you. And on top of that, you would have access to theory recap slides pertaining to E2, F2, and P2 related syllabus content. If you feel that you need to revise the theoretical knowledge, or you need to brush up your knowledge on theoretical content, it's mandatory that you get your hands on these theory recap slides. Okay, and the investment is £199. So you might be wondering whether to go for the value pack or the essential pack. So if you are a student who is extremely confident with engaging with self-studies, and if you are a student who had aced your OTQ exams, please go for the essential pack. You have all the necessary material as well as mock exams. You can work on your own. You are just supposed to follow the guideline which we provide through the webinars. Then you can pass on your own. However, if you feel that you are not too comfortable when it comes to engaging with self-studies, if you had if you found the OTQ exams to be extremely hard, if you failed the OTQ exams on multiple occasions, and if you are rejoining CIMA studies after a prolonged study break, or if you failed your MCS exam previously, then I would suggest you that you go for the value pack, because you need all the support which is there. And especially if you're coming through an exemption route, such as the FLP route or the gateway route, it's of utmost importance that you get feedback from a tutor when it comes to attempting mock exams. And on top of that, it's of utmost importance that you get your hands on the theory recap slides pertaining to E2, F2, and P2, because as per my experience, what I've seen is exemption students who come through the exemption route, they lack a proper understanding about theoretical content. Without theoretical knowledge, you can't pass the MCS exam. You need to have knowledge pertaining to E2, F2, and P2 related areas. So that's exactly why I'm suggesting that if you're coming through the exemption route, if you had failed the MCS exam previously, if you are returning to CIMA studies after a prolonged study break, or if you struggled with your OTQ exams, you have to go for the value pack, because you need a one-to-one tutor support. Right. Having said that, any questions, folks? If you have any questions, you can ask them now. And in the meantime, let me take you through some feedback which we have provided. So this is the type of feedback you would gain access to if you purchase the value pack. As you can see, our tutors had provided the annotated feedback, in-depth feedback, I should say. All right. And by going through this feedback, you are in a position to figure out how you can improve your answers. And it's not mentioned in here. At the very end, we provide mark breakdowns as well, so that you are in a position to better understand how to improve your answers, which parts of your answer needs to improve and whatnot. So that's the type of feedback which we provide. Any questions, folks? If you have any questions, you can you simply switch on your mic and talk, or mention it on the chat section.
Thank you so much for the session.
Free study resources. So let me take you through the website. So simply visit our website on www.study@tcs.com, and I'm on the MCS page. Click on the MCS page, and once you go there, you can see click here to access free content. So click it, create your own free account, and once you have that free account, you would have access to the recorded versions of the 3 webinars which we conduct free of charge. And on top of that, you would have access to one of the pre-scene analysis videos. Out of the 4 videos, 1 will be made available to you free of charge. And on top of that, you would have access to the mini mock and the suggested answer based on which we conducted today's session. And our pass rate for MCS has been 81%. And you can purchase the essential pack from here and the value pack from here. And before purchasing any of our content, please go through the sample material, because under the FAQ section, all the samples have been provided. So simply click on these links and download the samples. Get to know the quality of our content. If you are happy with the quality, please go ahead and purchase our content. And you can contact us through our website, which is www.study@tcs.com, or simply email us or WhatsApp us. And on top of that, I invite you guys to follow us on our social media handles. We have a separate Facebook group for MCS, as well as you can check out the content. All these recorded versions of the webinars are uploaded onto YouTube as well. So please go check these videos out if you missed out on a certain part of the webinar. And please go through the blog posts as well. Blog posts are on our website as well, which highlights the technical nitty-gritties pertaining to the MCS exam, what you need to avoid, what you need to improve on, and whatnot. And before we conclude today's session, I hope that you guys had gotten your hands on the 8-week study plan and you are following the study plan. According to the study plan, things are supposed to get serious from the 3rd week onwards. Okay, so from next week onwards, you need to start attempting your mock exams. So I hope you guys are going through all the additional material, going through the videos, and preparing yourselves rather than waiting until the end. Okay, so having said that, let me also remind you again about the upcoming webinar which is happening next week. And in that webinar, I will be talking about what you need to do to improve your confidence, because as per the CIMA examiner, confident students end up passing the exam comfortably. So I'll be highlighting what you need to do in order to improve your confidence as well as maintain your confidence at the real exam. So having said that, thank you very much for joining in. I hope to see you guys next week as well. Thank you and good luck. Good night.